lines.
Sorry about that, guys. I always have to remember to turn the recording on. I
Well, I
think
should have done it.
you jumped a piece there that I think is very important because when they're looking at development right now and they're looking at jobs, I'm talking about our audience that's there. And then they've been thinking about, okay, development is about getting investment to create jobs and create income to combat poverty and so forth. We've got to walk people through the idea that we're looking to see how do we combat the poverty and the hunger and inequalities to the idea of fostering your internal satisfaction, if you would, for internally developing yourself into whatever you can be. That's a huge, huge leap for most people to be able to go from saying, okay, how do I put food on the table tomorrow to going and saying, oh, I'm going to uh, I want to be thinking in these directions. I want to expand my.
Bill, but you yourself has introduced in our long-term
Mhm.
relationship the whole Maslowian pyramid,
Right.
and that it's just a very natural development from the physiological to the etc.
I
And
agree with that, but I'm just saying we need to bring the people because their focus on has been for decades, many decades, on how we solve the bottom rungs of the ladder, and they're not thinking and talking about how we go into the higher rungs yet. So we've got to be able to show that we can are addressing and solving those bottom rungs of physical and security before we start talking about the higher rungs, because their feeling is going to be, oh, that's only the elites that are up there thinking about those things. We've got to show that for the common folks
yeah.
that we're dealing with that. So I think, especially because of the fact that we've only got 90 minutes, and for many people this is going to be the first time of hearing about us, that we focus on what they plan to discuss in their meeting, which is more that physical security levels at the bottom of the Maslow hierarchy, and we can mention that once we get beyond that, the transition to a universal basic income is going to solve those problems for everyone and free us up to be able to now move up the hierarchy into the more non-physical pieces. But we got to really hit home that, hey, this is going to be a must to transition our thinking of how we address poverty and hunger has got to go from the idea of create more human labor jobs into the idea of how we share the benefits of production and the resources of the world.
Well, now that's a different dimension, which is clearly very important. How do we bring that in?
Well, that's my point, to be able to say, okay, you've been discussing here in all your meetings since 2002 how you create jobs. That dimension is going away. I'll make the case for that and show examples of that and everything from medical doctors to it doesn't make any difference what job you want to pick. The writing's on the wall that that's going away. But the thing about it is that bad or is that good? If that takes us to universal basic income that gives all the people who have been excluded until now with the current models, that brings them into the fold and makes them part of the economies and gives them a reasonable life. Now they're free to start thinking about, well, gee, I no longer have to worry about how I'm going to survive the next week. I can now start thinking about other things that interest me, and I can grow in whatever dimensions I want to grow in. So I think if as long as we get across the idea of stop thinking about creating jobs, because you're only creating jobs for AI and robots, you're not creating jobs for humans in the future. Therefore, we've got to move to economic model that will serve all the population without depending on human labor. And the big problem we're going to have there is how do we transition from where we are now without great pain and suffering. If we just go and say, well, there's only 5% more unemployed this year than last year. Oh, sorry about them. Tough luck. And next year after that, it's 10% and then 15%. At some point, the pain will become so large that people are going to say, now we've got to go to that universal basic income. But that could be a 10-year period of huge suffering from large shares of the population that lose their jobs and their opportunities first before the pressure becomes so great to act. And what we're saying is it doesn't have to be that way. There can be a transition. Instead, a universal basic income is your sole income, but a supplementary basic income lets us move through this period where some people still have jobs, some people have partial incomes to survive on because they maybe lost the big income they had in the past. And the supplementary income can provide us with the a smooth transition with minimum pain for anyone. And that's, I think we're unique in offering that.
Absolutely. I think that what we need to do is to really get the job we have today is to get a blurb down, which we
Mhm.
put in an email and then supply as a thing. So could we go to the document, Bill? Um,
Yeah,
uh,
because I have 15 minutes.
Okay.
so let's go to the document. Do you have the document up? Um, great. Great. Can you make that a bit bigger?
Okay, hold on.
When the conference is in May, June, right?
No, 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 Joan. This is for the 29th and 30th of April, I
This is the
think.
preparatory conference.
Yeah, because in the full conference, they're only taking in-person side events. And here we can actually put a virtual side event.
Okay,
So
good.
we will, Joan,
I'm leaving on the 29th, so
you're leaving on the 29th, are you?
yeah. But I'll be able to, depending on the time, I'm able to do it.
Okay. So I started writing a summary. That's
Yeah.
it's just a beginning. So the summary is Estonia is highly advanced in terms of technology and its application. At the same time, AI is developing fast, and the socioeconomic landscape will soon be unrecognizable, with AI outperforming humans in most areas, and the chasm between the haves and the have-nots increasing. There are two challenges we will look at in this side event. What development in education will be needed to prepare people worldwide for these challenges, and aspects of the present economy that are likely to be taken over by AI, and which aspects of the economy will remain the domain of human beings. We will then outline the main aspects of the economy, of this future economy, and how it can be implemented.
Mhm. Listen, I'd make a suggestion here uh, when you say what development and education will be needed to prepare people. The issue is not going to be, 5 years ago, and from the education things I supported, were all about giving people opportunities to compete in the world. In other words, giving them the skills that would enable them to compete. We have to be very careful. This is not going to be about preparing individuals to be able to compete because there's not going to be any competition for that for humans, if you would. It's more about how the society needs to change to provide a equitable sharing of the resources, whether those resources are all the production of the robots and the AI, or the natural resources or whatever it is. So we we can't leave the impression that people can educate themselves to participate in the future economy other than being a recipient of some kind of a UBI, or they can be self-sufficient. A subsistence farmer who's probably not going to care what's happening out there to anything. They can go about their life as they want. But for the bulk of people, we've got to prepare for a world where individual income from anything other than society, if you would, is not there.
Yeah, so people will have a basic income, but we're not learning to do things in order to earn that basic income. That will just be coming. And so the other aspect is that it's basically about individual human development.
Yeah, but we have to be, that's fine as long as we make it very clear that's not development for the purpose of earning an income.
Yes, yes,
That's
yes.
got to be very, very clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the summary, thank you for writing the summary. Um, I think that we needed to be more of a storytelling summary. So all the pieces are there. So is the wording limited? Like can you only do so many words or in terms of
No, no, there's nothing,
okay.
Joan. All I
So
did
so
was
this
copy
summary
get email to the Department of Financing for Development on side events. And for the rest, we just have a blank email. But what I wanted to do was then under this is sort of just a general blurb, we can
right.
change that. Then to have the speakers. So the government of Estonia talks about extremely high developed culture. And then William Graham talks about how the world has completely changed and will change further with AI and the challenges involved. Then we have and
I
the
understand that. I just want to say something before I forget what the point I want to make. I think what we have to say in the summary is that we're in a world of change, and we have and there are solutions to these changes.
where can we put that, Joan? Wait a minute. Can I make the changes myself? No, I have to go to the document.
Yeah,
Um,
you should be
so
able to
let
go to the document. I don't know if it shows up there, or if you tell me, I can probably just put the changes in here.
yes, yes.
What do you want to change?
Joan, you Bill, you
Oh,
do
wait a
you
minute, Lisinka. I'm seeing your, yes, you can make your change directly. I'm seeing your little flag there at the bottom of that paragraph.
yeah, but if you want to do it, it will be better because you're probably much better at making the changes than I am. Are you good at typing? So what I wrote here is sort of I'm going to just get you guys at the top. I can't
So
get
what I always write when I'm doing summaries is what I call a teaser. Now my style is different than other people. I like to tease
yes.
and flamboyant and stuff like that. So I tend to be more of like flamboyant, right? So I like to say if we're going to do an event or whatever, it's talk about I like to talk about either passion or hope or dreams or things like that. That's just my personality. So we need to tease the audience like the world is changes, but so are the solutions, right?
Mhm.
Okay, do you want to start with that?
Well, I don't think I can
You should be able to just edit because I'm seeing the sync again. So I imagine you can as well, Joan.
If you don't, Joan, then I'll put
You
you
can't
hang
do
on.
it, Joan. If you want to make the changes, you have to make the changes in the
in the Google
document,
Doc
in the Google
itself,
Doc.
right? Yeah, so I'm going to try to get to that, and then you will probably
Okay.
see
The
it.
one thing here is, Lisinka, when you write the chasm between the haves and the haves not, it's changing. The have and have nots is no longer about income and whatever. It's about owner. It's about the owner class versus the non-owner class. In other words, who owns the AI and robots versus those that don't own. That's the split. No longer based on skills.
Bill, make that change then.
Can you see my changes at all?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Very yeah.
Okay, so it's a statement that everybody now is brought into the picture,
Yeah.
right?
Can we just change that sentence and say the world is changing and so are the solutions without say we have to agree?
And that's what I said in the first place.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So the world is changing, and so are the solutions. That's really grabbing.
Yes. And that's what we want to do, right?
Yes.
Um, then now we have to invite them, join us to hear. Um, applications, I don't know, models and speakers who are um, offering. We always want to make sure the reader is bought in, right? Offering some, we can, these models that can help to address the um, chasms that have gotten ever so large. I don't know.
The chasms that have emerged.
Yeah, okay, chasm that have emerged.
Yeah, what I put in there is not the wording we want, so hopefully one of you can figure out the better wording.
Well, we're working together on this, so
Yeah.
everybody's sort of putting in their tuppenny bit.
Yeah, I mean you can choose to take whatever you want. I'm just saying that we need to bring
Yes.
the
Okay. Join
uh,
us to
yeah. So you're saying here's a problem, so we're inviting them to come and hear it.
join us to hear. Wait a minute. We start off with Bill. So some of the more drastic changes that we will be facing very soon.
Mhm.
Um, I'm trying to bring in sort of this uh, with produced by AI. Join us to hear some of the most seismic changes, most drastic, or most
Applicable, I would use friendly terms, right?
to hear.
Like we don't want these people to feel threatened or fearful. We want them to be on side.
Yeah,
Like when you start to talk about how it's going to drastically change in terms of what's going to happen, they're going to go, okay, well, this is beyond me.
yeah. Would it help to put in the solution? Join us to hear how some exciting solutions to some of the
Yeah.
Yes,
more.
that's the
Yeah.
important thing.
Perfect.
I think on the one hand, you need to get their attention by
Yeah.
being a little sensationalist about
Yeah.
the fact that the existing model is finished, is soon to be finished, but that there is a positive path to an even better
Yeah.
future,
Exactly.
to a more equitable future for all, which is something the current model is not delivering.
Yeah. So it's so much more friendly, right?
Yeah,
A
yeah.
more innovative change to.
One aspect is I just put a background color green on because you said, Lisinka, determining which parts of the economy are going to remain the domain of humans. The answer to that is none. And that is something we need to, because otherwise, in the discussions that I participate with, people think, yeah, AI is going to do a little bit, but we humans are still going to be the drivers, and we humans are still going to be having a major play. So this is why you hear Amos saying, "Let's teach people how to develop AI. Let's teach people how uh, to build AI solutions." But we already see the AI is already doing the design itself and the building of itself, so that the the idea that I think a year and a half ago, somebody came out with a job posting for $335,000 a year for a prompt engineer. And everybody said, we should teach everybody to be a prompt engineer. Well, today, you actually have the prompt engineering being done by AI. The very few people who are in the know develop their own prompts anymore. AI develops, they say to AI, hey, this is what I want. And AI develops the prompt that will be effective. And
I think we can also say that, oh man, I just had a really great thought. No, no, it's gone. So Lucinka, I'm not quite sure in the summary that you just have to send, do you have to talk about all of the specifics? Can you just
There's absolutely no guidelines given. All it
okay,
is
so why don't you
address and then an empty email.
yeah,
So I think that we should make it as enticing as possible and
yeah.
make it as specific as possible by having the speakers and what they're going to talk about and possibly their background or whatever.
Mhm.
And
Okay. Well, I have to go, guys, but is there could we just go down to where I've put my thing to make sure that I'm on the right
yes.
path?
So I added here, join us to hear some of the more innovative solutions to drastic changes that are already emerging.
Yeah,
Can I then cut off sort of the we will until emerged?
yeah.
Okay, then Joan. And so let's see where Estonia is highly advanced in terms of technology and its application. At the same time, AI is developing fast and socioeconomic landscape will soon be unrecognizable with AI outperforming humans in most areas. And the chasm between the haves and the have-nots increasing, whereby it is no longer a chasm, not longer a chasm based on skills, but rather the owner class AI, robots, etc., versus the non-owner
yeah,
class.
the not should be changed to no, no longer. I can do that if you want.
Yeah, okay. Just a minute. I
That's a
think
very convoluted sentence. I think that's
Yeah,
a good
me too.
sentence.
Yeah.
chasm between have and
It's
have-nots.
saying too much.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. But I think here
when
to
you're trying to get people to an event, you have got to get them to go, oh, wow, I want to hear that, rather than,
yes.
oh, they're
I
telling us everything. Why am I going?
Yeah, I think here if we sort of at the top we just say the AI is changing the world dramatically. The development models of the past several decades will no longer apply in the very near future. The consensus is growing that a universal basic income is needed, but the question is how do we transition to that? and
Yeah.
and that we want to talk about how we transition from the current economy into a more equitable and fair economy.
I
Uh,
don't think we can.
So,
Yeah,
you guys, I really do have to go, but
yeah,
I want to say that Lysinka, there's nothing here that says anything about what the common cluster is doing. I think that you need the next sentence should be saying the common cluster has assembled a number of speakers with a model, a highly innovative model that is working.
I put that up here, the Commons cluster.
I think the next sentence, yeah, but you put Estonia
yeah, we
there.
need to put that in front of Estonia.
Yeah, this is a common like. Anyway, so we can't go to the bottom just to see if I was on the right track. So if I do any,
Yeah, of course we should. So the
2 minutes. That's all I have.
When you say the bottom, you mean at the very bottom of this file?
Yeah, the one that I think I added my section. Yes, there it is. Up, down, down, down. No,
I
down.
I need to get your wording again, Joan, for the part that the Commons cluster has.
It's recorded, right? So
Yes.
okay, good. Um,
Please,
okay.
please.
I have
where
to run,
you
guys.
put,
I will talk to you later, okay?
Okay, 3 o'clock, Joan.
Alrighty, thanks.
Yeah.
please,
Dosser, yes.
please, where you, yes, you put join us to hear. Isn't it better to put join us to understand?
Which aspect, because are likely to be taken away, and which aspects of will remain domain of humans? Where does that which part is that? The commons cluster,
The Commons cluster, yeah, yeah.
and then I'm not finding where what DOS is the point. Should we just complete that first sentence and
Yeah,
then
let's complete the sentence we're working on, and then let's take Dos's let's hear what Dos has to say. So
yeah
you started off the Commons cluster has,
assembled?
yeah,
Joan, what is it that you were thinking? What
Well,
have
I
you?
think that you have to make a statement that says the common cluster is hosting this event. Like you have to tell them who we are in a quick sentence, right? To present some solutions that are exciting and are future oriented. Like it's a solution as well, right?
yeah. Can we say that to present uh, an exciting solution for to assist in the transition from
Yes,
the current economy to a sustainable future economy?
perfect. Because then it's saying what the common cluster is doing.
Okay, wonderful. Joan, I'm not going to let you out of my pocket from now on. So, so they're hosting this event to present, and then what was it?
Um,
It's hosting this event to
why don't we just say for now we can work on the exact wording, present
Yeah.
a viable solution for um, a
To
transition,
transit that for the transition for a sustainable future.
yeah, from the current uh, unsustainable economy to a sustainable economy that benefits all.
Yeah. And that says that brings in the common cluster, and then we can say whatever. I mean, to be honest with you, you're saying way too much in the summary, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think here we can work on doing that, but I think um,
event present a viable solution for a transition from a current unsus to present a viable solution for a transition from the current unsustainable economy to a sustainable economy that benefits all. Okay.
Why don't, instead of using the word viable, why don't say a way to transition from the
It's
uns
presenting a way to
transition from
transition.
current, yeah,
yeah, and I
Oh,
think instead of the current unsustainable, instead of unsustainable,
yeah,
we need to get in the word something that conveys the idea of the current dying economy or the
yeah.
current outgoing economy. We need to find a word.
Outdated, or
It's it's
um, uh,
it's not it's the current economy, um, the current changing economy, maybe, or the current unstable economy.
okay, guys, talk to you soon.
Okay.
okay,
Yep.
Joan.
Joan.
I will be having to put this in,
Yes, I
Yeah.
will take a look at it later and feel free to call me after to,
no, but we'll have to get this submitted.
yes, yes, I'll take a look at it as well, but I'm saying feel free to call me. I'll be talking to Bill at 3, so if we want to do a Zoom call, that's fine.
But you're going to have to put it in. I
Yes.
will give you the
No,
email
I
address.
have the Google Doc. I just add and then you can accept or whatever.
No, but I'm going to be out of the running after this
Oh, I
call.
see.
Out of the running. I'm leaving.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay, well, I do have to chair the other meeting. I
Yeah.
can't stay.
Okay. Okay. We'll
Okay.
talk, Joan, but probably you're going to have to submit the actual email, send the email, right? Is that what you're saying, Lisinka?
Yeah, somebody has to do it. I can give you who to submit it to.
Post that in the leadership group, and Joan and I will talk about that at 3.
Yeah. Okay.
You and I will discuss that, Bill, because you and I, with Dosse, are
Yeah,
going to be working on this.
right.
Yes. So
We'll,
you guys, Bill, maybe you could submit it. So, but I'll
Okay.
take a look at it again.
yes, that would be
Okay.
great. But
Okay. Bye.
Joan, lovely to be with you.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to see you probably for, well, probably a
Okay.
week or so, because we're all going to be gone. And
I
then
know.
working on the details afterward,
Okay.
before the,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye. Take
Bye.
care. Bye. Dosse, so tell us, what were you saying?
I told you that for the first sentence, and so are the solution. Join us to hear. Instead of hear, join us to understand is what I was proposing. And I add this, the Common Club Cluster is hosting this event to present how AI
Oh, yes.
can help to transit or economic, how AI can help you continue.
Uh, uh, So see,
Okay.
I don't think it's a question of that AI about AI helping us. I think the question really is that AI will be able to help, yes, but that's not the real issue. The issue is that AI is going to destroy the current economy, and that we are going to need a way to transition to a new economy that's not based on human labor.
Okay.
And so that's the crux. You know what I'm thinking, Lisinka, is maybe I can open Claude, and we can just put this in and ask Claude, how can we say this in a good way
Yeah,
that's going
yeah,
to
that's good. Yeah.
let me give that a try. Let me give that a try. So,
Don't delete what we've got,
no,
but
no, no,
just
no.
then
That's
when
why I'm copying it.
copy and paste the Claude's thing above it.
Okay, so um, oh, okay, and uh, okay. Okay, so now let me see how I have to shorten this, shrink this down a little bit so we can get it on well, I can move us down here.
You can put it right under the under the summary, Bill.
No, no, I know. I just need to switch to the new share. Okay, so can you now see my screen? I just took and said create this in artifacts.
So I've got summary and then I've got three lines in purple, and then is that it?
No, this is now on the our Zoom. You should be able to see on the right-hand side, there's a bold text Commons Cluster event, transitioning to a sustainable economy.
How do I get to that? Does that have a
No, it's
link?
in just you should see it right within our Zoom session. I'm sharing the screen.
Okay. All right. Okay. Can you see it, Darcy, as well?
Darcy?
Yes, I see.
Okay.
Okay.
So the way this works, I can now move this over here, get it out of the way there. Um, the way this works is over on the right-hand side, we can say what we want, but let's see what it came up with. I gave it just our text. Um, I think here that the first sentence, the world is changing, and so are the needed solutions, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Put that in. Let's just all read it through, but you can add that, Bill.
whoops. Let me.
I'm not sure that
Okay, so it made that change for us. Okay, so
So
I'll scroll
let
down.
us understand some of
I think here, I think this second paragraph here, where we say, and the chasm between the haves and have-nots are increasing, we should drop that. We should end it with just AI outperforming humans in most areas. And we need to say AI and robots because the idea of the physical robots, the humanoid robots, right now is evolving just as fast as the AI. So that probably within a year we're going to be having, or yeah, by before the end of next year for sure, we're going to have humanoid robots walking among us on the streets.
I'm not sure I like this. What the AI came up with.
Yeah, let's go back to our. I can just stop this share and we'll just go back to where we were. Okay, the world is changing and so are needs for effective solutions. Join us to hear some of the more innovative solutions to drastic changes that are already emerging. The Commons Cluster is hosting this event to present how to transition from the current changing economy to a sustainable economy that benefits all. I would then I would then take the Estonia piece because it's just a statement. We definitely need to say, we will first hear from Estonia, uh, a highly advanced society in terms of technology and its application, something like that. Did you just start to write this, the Commons cluster at the beginning of the at the same
Yeah,
time?
I did. I didn't get any farther. So you know,
Do you want to keep that there because we moved that up?
no, no, we don't have to have it there at all.
Okay. I would make this just technology. And then because we have here with AI, robots, etc., outperforming
Oh, I
human.
I just
What?
no, it's okay. I don't find any strike through here.
Oh,
Oh, I know one can just do it editing mode or suggestion mode. I'll put it in suggestion mode for myself. That way I can make changes and people can see it.
mhm. Outperformance, and I think uh this whole piece here, because as Joan pointed out, we're probably saying too much. Um, that we just take out this whole thing I just highlighted. So it says outperforming humans in most areas, and then putting in and thereby causing the need to redefine. Somewhere we have to say that the whole concept of development was based on creating jobs and incomes for people. That model needs to be redefined. And
Bill, I'm thinking back at our last common session where the three of us were there,
yeah,
Darcy and you and me, and you pointed out that we're talking for financing for development.
yes.
So that has to be the theme. And because of what I wrote, we have slipped out of financing for development to economy.
Well,
We,
because development was here. I asked for a summary going back when they were talking about it from all the way back to 2002, that first conference, where they talked about the development as an answer to the poverty and hunger and inequalities, that providing jobs and incomes was the key. Now we still are going to have the need to provide the income. It's just not going to be via jobs, and that changes the whole premise on which the MDGs and the SDGs were based, on the premise that the jobs will solve all the problems. The incomes based on jobs will solve all the problems, and we need to recognize that jobs will probably not be part of the solution going forward. So we need to redefine um, where the income comes from. This is very hard to try to do online jointly like this. I would suggest what we do
no, no, Bill,
is
we need to complete this so that when I get off and you and Dossie get off, we've got something that we can agree to. And I don't think it's difficult to do online. I think that this works very well.
I don't know. So what I have here now is that at the same time technology is developed, at the same time, uh, technology is developing fast, and the socioeconomic landscape will soon be unrecognizable, with AI, robots, etc., outperforming humans in most areas. The elimination of the value of human labor requires we rethink the economic model of the future that is not based on income from human labor. There is a growing global consensus that some form of universal basic income will be needed to provide everyone with the income needed to avoid poverty, hunger, etc. We will be presenting a proposal for a model to support a smooth transition from the current economy, which is moving away from the concept of paid human labor, a post-labor economy, to a new economic model where the benefits of AI and automation are shared by everyone.
I like that. What I don't like though is there is an agreement or whatever, a consensus. There's a
Okay.
growing global consensus because that's very difficult to prove.
Okay, there is a
So how can we put that differently?
yeah, we can say there's a growing number of voices uh, calling for some form. Okay. If we just,
Please, please,
yes.
please, if I understand well, the idea, it means that the current money we have, the currency we have today will disappear. And now we have only to use the income and everybody, the president, the secretary general, everybody, it.
You broke up there. I didn't understand what you said at the end.
I think the last part fell away. Could you repeat that?
I want to know. There, I I say that if understand well, our innovation is that no have again currencies we in the world, but the new economy will have is to give to everyone income, the same income, and share the benefit between everyone in the world. If this is the case, so our ministers, our uh, 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 president, the UN Secretary General, and me will have everybody the same income, isn't it?
The
That
last part again, the noise broke up.
Okay, I think I got it. So what Dossi is saying here that under universal basic income, everybody's equal. Everybody gets the same. That's the concept of universal in that universal basic income, Dossi. However, there are a lot of people saying, well, wait a minute, that's not going to work because the people like the president and the secretary general that you're referring to, they cannot live on what somebody who's in the bottom half of society currently lives on. And if we divide up all the money of the world and everybody gets an equal share, that means those people who are currently in the top 20% are going to have to give up about 90% of what they have. And that you're absolutely right. That is a major problem with universal basic income. And one of the reasons why they came up with the idea of universal basic income in the first place is because they said that the people who have are unhappy to say they're going to give it to the people that don't have. So the idea is, well, we got to give everybody the same then, and so they can't complain because the haves generally are not willing to share with the have-nots, and so that's why they came up with that model. Now, the tests that's been done on all those assume that it's going to be paid out of taxpayer funds or some kind of a sovereign fund like you have in Norway and Alaska. But that's the next question. The first question is, if there's no income from work, from labor, then how do we provide people with an income? What's the answer? Or do we just let them die? Based on that, the recognition is there. Everybody is going to have some kind of an income. And it's unfair if you're a company and you have replaced all your workers with robots, and now all the profits just go to you because you don't have to share it with labor, that's not fair. And therefore, you should have to pay a tax or something on the profits that you're making from those robots and AI, to share that with the people whose jobs you took away by replacing them with the AI and the robots. It's it's a big discussion point, but I think what we're saying is, look, we need a way to share on those benefits. It's not fair that somebody went out and just put a fence around the area that's got oil under it and says it now belongs to me, and I don't have to share it. That's not fair, and that's basically what happens when a company says, "Hey, I can make more profits for me if I get rid of all my human workers and replace them with machines." That so that's disrupting, if you would, the social contract between the worker class and the owner class that's existed for thousands of years. So
But
that's
how do we want to translate what we're trying to say into language that we can submit? I think that's the only thing we
well,
really need
the
to talk about now.
development, yeah, the development, the financing for development was all about how do we create the incentives or the mechanisms to invest in creating jobs where the jobs are lacking or they're not providing the kinds of income that people need. And that we got to be very blunt to say that that model that you've been trying to make is going to be obsolete before you can finish making it.
How
That
would you say that, Bill? Because the world is changing, so is our need for effective. Join us to hear some of the more innovative solutions to drastic changes already emerging. And then this would have to be a sentence in which you would, for instance, AI, or one of the main ones is that AI will be taking over or whatever.
yeah.
How would you say that
I'm
in one sentence?
Yeah,
With
I'm gonna need some time to wordsmith that. But what I wanted to get through here, and Dusty dropped off. I think it could be because he was having connectivity problems. But so it's just you and I at this point. The What I wanted to get across with you is that we understand, or an agreement on the gist. The gist being that the model of development that we have been pursuing, that we've been chasing, is not going to fulfill its needs because it is going to be obsolete before we can complete it, and we need to have a new model. And if that
but that's good, but you need to sort of what the point is in this thing. You have to point out why that is so when
Yes,
you say
correct.
so.
And yes, you're absolutely correct. We have to point out that the current development model that we've been pursuing is based on the idea of creating jobs and incomes to combat hunger and poverty, et cetera. But that given the rise of AI and robots, the we are moving towards a future where human labor will uh, become lose its value, and therefore we need another economic model that's not based on human labor.
Okay, see if we can say that in just very quickly. So,
Okay.
so we've got the Commons Clusters hosting an event to present a possible transition from the current rapidly changing economy to a sustainable economy that benefits all. Now, we might even put this, from a job space or something like that, or from a jobs based an income and jobs based from an income and jobs based approach to development to one.
No, it is because the it goes back. The idea is it's not the jobs are. It's the idea is. So that's why the is applicable.
Yeah.
You know what? What if we do this, Lasinka, that paragraph that I just wrote? If we take this, the Commons cluster is hosting. So we say, hey, the world's changing, so is our need for effective solutions. Join us to hear blah 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 blah, and then say until now the financing for development is focused on the idea of good jobs and so forth. And then behind this paragraph, we then say, okay, so because this is all changing, the Commons cluster is hosting this event to present a possible transition from the current rapidly changing economy to a sustainable economy that benefits all. In other
Yeah.
words,
Yeah.
take this and put it here. And I think Joan's point was you want to tease people to get them saying, oh, how? I want to know. I want to know more. In other words, the more
Not
we,
not to write it all out.
yeah, the more we say here, the more they say, "Oh, I know what they're going to talk about. I don't need to listen." So
Yes.
what we want to do is we want to leave them curious and hungry. So that if we on the summary, what we could even do is say, okay, the world is changing, and so are the needs. Um, so and so is well, the need for effective solutions isn't changing. It's the kind of effective the um,
So is the kind of effect is the type of effective solutions needed? The world is changing, and so is
so is the yeah
the kind that
uh, so is the kind of effective solutions needed. Keep yeah, and then after the word solutions, yeah. Now, what if we stop there and then we go into until now, and then we put at the bottom after the commons cluster paragraph, then we say, join us to hear some of the more innovative solutions to not to the drastic changes that are already admission, but because we want to make it positive. So join us to hear some of the more innovative solutions to a smooth transition to the world that's going to provide that's sustainable, that's going to provide the benefits to all, something along those lines. So, in other words, take this and let's drop it down to
but the point that Joan made, I think, was rather good because she says you want to invite people in.
right.
And so that sentence does that right at
No,
the
it
beginning.
does it, but I think because it's now so short, if we assume that we're ending here, that we can, it's so short that we then just say, hey, the world is we can put some more words like rapidly changing, and so is the kind of effective solutions needed. And then until now, the financing for development has been focused on the idea that good jobs is the key to effectively addressing poverty, hunger, inequality, etc. And so on down here. And then the Commons Cluster is hosting this event to present blah, 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 and then join us to hear some of the more innovative solutions to uh, transitioning our world, transitioning to a world that benefits all.
Yeah, but that's too vague, I think. And but we could make up for it by having the speakers at the bottom, um, which then sort of give the substance.
Yeah. So,
Because the thing is much too vague the way we just stated.
let
I
me
think
let
that we
yeah. So
I think we
I
do need
agree with you. We may want to say a little bit more, but probably keep it to this try to avoid making it longer. So make it more hard hitting maybe within this point. But right now we're saying, look, until now, financing for development's been focused on something that is not going to apply anymore. And then we need a new economic model. And then the Commons Cluster is hosting this event to present. In that paragraph where we say the Commons Cluster is hosting this event to present a pos uh, present possible a possible solution for how to transition from the currently
a
rap,
solution to transition.
uh,
Oh,
a
a
solution
solution.
for how to transition
Okay, from
from
the
the current rapidly changing economy to a sustainable economy that benefits all. If we're going to add anything about the nature Uh,
Yeah, I
we
think
need
we do need AI in there and UBI.
well, AI and UBI. So new economic model based on here. Here we could say that the we could take that one sentence on there's a growing number of voices calling for some form of universal basic income. We could put that at at the end of this statement, and then here saying how we can transition from the current economy to a sustainable universal basic income economy.
No, wait, I think that the logic needs to be there. And the logic is uh, that the job market is going to change unrecognizably with AI taking over, and that um, it that an alternative to our present economy is then that people get a universal basic income. That I didn't not formulating that well, but the idea is that AI is going to take over jobs, and that therefore we need the universal basic income. The two are connected.
Okay, so if we put in this, okay, until now we've been focused on a jobs oriented development, but now we recognize we need a new economic model, and that there's a growing number of voices calling for some form of universal basic income to provide everyone with the income needed to avoid poverty, hunger, etc.
I want to stop there because what I with the if we bring in the AI and the jobs and the universal basic income, so AI taking over jobs and universal, then there's a flow. Then there's
Well, do we have that? We
it's
have.
it.
We're now faced with the reality that AI and automation will soon displace almost all human workers. Actually, we could say labor.
Actually, you already you almost all human labor will soon displace all human labor, and on the almost it's doubly said, I
No,
think,
I
right?
agree with you. I
I
agree.
soon dis
So, do we want to we uh, soon eliminate the value of almost all human labor?
yes,
Okay, so if we do that, um,
soon eliminate the value of almost all human labor. Um, as you say that, I fully understand, but I'm not sure that people are going to understand that. What we're talking about is that AI does jobs much better than human
yes.
beings, and therefore, so
Okay, so in here, um, we'll okay, so we'll soon. Um,
hey, is that Dossé?
no, I don't see. He's not. He has. Oh, think we can.
Well, no, there's I think that there's a jump in thinking that doesn't make sense. So
Well,
what we've got is a workforce now where AI is doing all the jobs better than beings, uh, presumably also to eradicate poverty. And so it's what we're
no,
doing is
I think here the problem is that the current economy is based on a profit motive, so that people are not doing the current economy. People aren't doing the work to eradicate poverty; they're doing the work to make profit, and so we can't.
in America, in America.
Oh,
I
not
don't
just
forget that,
America, not just
yeah,
America.
no,
Take a look in Europe in the votes. Take a look in South Africa in the votes. That
again, look at the poor people. The
yeah,
poor people are not doing that to make a profit and then to put money in the bank. They're doing it
to
to get
survive.
their some tummy, some food in their tummy.
Right.
And
But the
most
thing about it was the financing for development was based on the idea of let's get the owners to invest to create jobs because we're going to show them how they can make profit by investing in these
I
development.
want to I don't want to go along the line of making profit. That is something so very American, and I know that you and I disagree about various cultures, but I prefer if we don't mention that because we really don't agree on that.
But it's
Um,
interesting to see that even China made its big boost when it went and enabled people to develop their own businesses.
right, Bill. So let's go for the approach, the capitalist approach. I don't want to
No, no, we
argue.
have to move away from the capitalist. We're in agreement that the
I know,
capitalist
I
approach.
know. But I think we need to. I feel we're completely moving away from what we want to say, and it's sort of where we've lost the thread.
I'm not sure I understand how you're meaning that because basically what we're saying is that the model that financing for development has been pursuing is a model based on creating jobs so people can have income, and that will eliminate the poverty and hunger and so forth. And that model, the idea that jobs are going to do that, is going away because the jobs are not going to be for humans anymore. Therefore, it's not going to provide them the income.
Because
So
AI is going to take the job. That's fine. That's very logical.
So now we need a replacement because the people still need the income. It's just that they're not going to get it from jobs. So what are they going to get it from?
There's two things that is needed. One of them that human endeavor is needed. So people are going to want to do something, and they'll want to do that, which will probably be in keeping with who they are. And then the other thing is that that's one very big aspect of this whole thing
But I
that's
think
going to.
here that gets us into that discussion about trying to stay with the bottom levels of the Maslow hierarchy that these people are talking about very explicitly. In fact, the Financing for Development states in the papers from the 2002 and I think it was a 2007 or 2008 conference that their main issue is poverty, hunger, and sustainability. So that the development, that kind of development you're talking about, that personal satisfaction type development, is very, very far from these people's minds.
But
And
then, so after mental and physical, and then we can say the question remains, how are we going to deal with existing poverty, the existing poverty and the chasm between rich and poor, and the fact that people will still want to pursue their passions or their interests. And then we can say that we have a model to deal with that.
well, I think on the question of the chasm today between the rich and the poor is if you're like a super basketball player, you can sign a $70 million contract, but that only applies to like 10 people in the world. And the average the professional basketball player only makes a couple $100,000. So the skill, your skill, marketable skill, is what determines either the marketable skills or your ruthlessness is what determines the chasm between the inequality chasm today. But the I think here.
Yeah, I think we're drifting off course now.
Well, that's why I wouldn't mention that the inequality chasm, because
We can say how do we deal with physical poverty, physical and mental poverty, um, and people's need to be active and creative.
yeah, but I think that those are two totally separate discussions. There is a whole round of discussions taking place about the purpose of life and the meaning of life, and that gets into that whole thing about your personal the things that give you personal satisfaction and so forth. And the whole values discussion and all is part of that. And the other part here is the pure economic aspect of how do I put food on the table and how do I survive? And that has been based for many centuries, many millennium, on the idea of compensation for physical or mental work. And that is the piece that's going by the wayside here. And so that's the piece that we really need to address, because we could be addressing the
Yeah, so
question
then we
of,
that brings us down to the point if human beings no longer have labor. So what is then what are we doing?
well, the first question is that if you no longer have the question is not so much about you don't have labor, but the problem is that in the current model, with no labor, there's no income. So the real gist of the problem is the lack of income that happens when you no longer can have paid labor. So that I think is need to be the focus of here, because that's what the Financing for Development. If you go and talk to those people, that's the primary thing that they've been focused on. The idea here of people living more meaningful lives and doing things that truly give them satisfaction, that issue has been around during the current type of economy as well. You could go and say, give up your rat race job there in the corporate rat race and seek out a more peaceful pastoral type of life. That has been there and been in discussion and been an issue that's unrelated to what AI is doing. So I think here
wait a minute, I'll just close the door because Tid is now on the phone and he's sort of interrupting our conversation and vice versa.
There's David and Guy and Maud.
Oh, Bill, give me 2 minutes.
sure.
David.
Hello.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
Chocolate.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, thank you so much. Muchas gracias, David. That's it. Can you just? Oh, David, muchas gracias. ¿Todo va bien con usted?
Sí,
Sí.
I need to go to live in Granada next week.
You go to Granada?
Yes,
Oh,
next week.
yes, and you'll come back.
Yeah? And no.
You won't come back?
Live in Granada.
Oh, David, I'm so sorry. So we won't see you anymore.
No, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Happy for my son.
Yes,
Yes.
in Granada.
Uh,
Oh, David, that's wonderful. Oh.
Is that in Spanish?
Hola, amigos. Les deseo un feliz cumpleaños y los días a los dos. Un pequeño detalle en agradecimiento por todo. Y pronto nos veremos. Con cariño, David. Muchas gracias. Sí, y
Mejor en
en Spain, ja. En ik wens je ook een gelukkige verjaardag en ik wil je vertellen dat ik de volgende week in Canada ga wonen. Ja, we zien elkaar snel weer en een goede reis. Gracias. Muchas gracias. Y tú también, todo bien en Granada con su hijo.
Sí, no, mi hijo vive en Cádiz, pero por trabajo, por my work, is more easy visiting my son.
You visit your son in Granada, and you stay in Granada or you come back? No, you don't.
No.
You don't come back. You stay in Granada.
Yes.
Oh, will you work there? Yeah. I'm sorry because we enjoy the food in Pampano as well.
I know.
Thank you for everything. It's lovely to see you and to be with you. And all the best. Todos bien. Sí. Todos, sí, todo va bien.
Y nos volveremos a ver.
Sí, sí, no, porque vamos a mañana.
Sí, Jorge me dijo.
Sí. ¿Usted también de mañana?
¿Sí? No, el martes.
Martes, y nosotros vamos
Mañana. Vuelven en mayo.
Sí, pero no se veremos.
Sí, no, yo vuelvo en Semana Santa.
¿Se viene aquí?
Sí, Borgen de Pámpano.
De Pámpano, la Semana Santa. ¿Qué semana es eso?
18 y 19 de abril.
Abril. No este martes.
No.
Estaremos aquí.
En mayo vuelven.
Sí.
No, nosotros, yo vuelvo, si al caso, en agosto.
¿En agosto?
Vuelvo a visitar.
Visitar, pero no aquí.
No.
Eso no es Pámpano. Sí. No. Qué lástima. Sí. Y todos queremos que usted sea muy feliz con todos. Sí.
Igualmente.
Sí, gracias.
Y nos veremos y nos volveremos a ver pronto.
Adiós, David. Muchas gracias por el regalo, todo. Sí. Okay. Adiós, gracias. Adiós. No, it's muy.
No.
Bill, I'm so sorry.
No problem, no problem. I use the time here. I dumped this into Canvas in ChatGPT.
Oh, you got it out, did you?
So right now, for example, what it came up until now, the global strategy for financing for development has been grounded in the belief that the creation of good jobs is the most effective path to addressing poverty, hunger, inequality, and related issues. This assumption has its roots in an economic model that has dominated for thousands of years, one that is fundamentally based on the value of human labor. However, we are now entering a radically new phase of human history. With the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence and automation, we face the imminent reality that machines will outperform humans in nearly all tasks, not only in physical labor, but also in mental and creative functions. This technological shift is poised to displace a vast majority of humans from the workforce, rendering traditional job-based income structures obsolete. In a world where income from labor is no longer a viable option for most people, we must urgently rethink our economic foundations. Poverty, hunger, and inequality will not disappear simply because technology becomes more capable. On the contrary, without deliberate action, these problems could worsen. An increasing number of voices are recognizing that some form of universal basic income may be a necessary solution. UBI would provide all individuals with a guaranteed income independent of employment to ensure that basic needs are met and to prevent large segments of the population from falling into poverty. As we prepare for a future where human labor is no longer the primary driver of economic value, it is essential to explore new models of economic inclusion and resilience. UBI is not just a welfare measure, it is a foundational redesign of how we ensure dignity, security, and participation for all in a post labor economy. Okay, I just
Okay.
realized you
It's
couldn't
a
see that.
very, very long way. The thing is, Bill, that what it missed out is that the type of labor is going to change, and because that is an important part of the SIFA plan. I mean, what this whole thing is basically an introduction to the SIFA plan, which will be human development, and that will be a basic income, and it will be an electronic marketplace. But we need to get to the human development that's
But
left out.
it's also a transitional. Yeah, but I think that's the piece where I think that that's
This
trying to
whole
ask
thing
people
has
to take
to
a bridge too far.
we
I think the
we
human
have to.
development is a bridge too far. But
But
that
no, Bill, it's not. It's not. It's not. Absolutely not. The thing is, what we're doing with this whole thing is we're leading up to the World Marshall Plan. That's what this whole
right,
workshop is about.
correct.
Okay, that's not just a universal base of income, that's human development, and that's also what people like Amos is talking about is human development.
Right. But keep
Abby
in mind, we
talked
said
about
in the beginning that the people there, they are coming from the perspective of financing for development. And financing for development did not include the questions of personal development and the like. It really focused, it says specifically, I have the wording
on
somewhere.
poverty. It focuses on poverty, doesn't it? I mean, a lot of it is about poverty.
Exactly. Poverty and inequality. And what we're really saying is that the only thing that changes, okay, they're there to talk about the financing for development, and we're only there saying, hey, your goal model is not going to be applicable by the time you're ready to come out because they are not going to solve giving everybody meaningful jobs in the next 5 to 10 years. And so that they have to rethink the model that they are trying to implement to reflect the realities of the world, of this changing world. And I think here, as long as we do that, we keep their attention. The moment we go off and add in other factors that are valid and applicable to the world, but not necessarily to what these people perceive as their mission, then that's where we confuse them. We lose.
We're not talking to these people, Bill, because we'll be having a virtual event and we'll be inviting all sorts of
You're
people.
right, but our main
The
goal
thing
is
we need to jump from is from the AI to the SIFA plan. We're jumping to the SIFA plan. That's what this whole workshop's going to be about. I mean, most of the thrust is going to be on the SIFA plan, and that's dealing with
you're right, but the SIFA plan,
development.
the SIFA plan is 90% income because back in 1980 and
It's not.
that,
It's not. Coisto was never about
no,
income. He was
no, wait a minute, wait a minute. We're agreeing, but let me explain why. It's because he saw income as the way to enable people to pursue those personal growth aspirations. And
yeah.
so this is why the common denominator on all of this is income. And then I would split here in two presentations. So one presentation is talking about let's get over those bottom rungs of the Maslowian pyramid. And so we've
So,
got
Bill, I want to interrupt again because we need to get to the basics. The basics is that we have various speakers. One of them is Estonia. The second one is Bill talking about AI. The third one is Amos and Abby. And then the fourth one will be the World Marshall Plan. So what we're dealing with is we're talking about Amos and Abby are going to be talking about developing the human being. You're going to be talking about the economy post AI, and that needs to be connected. We're now getting off onto we've we've been talking about 2 hours together practically now. No, we've been at it for 2 hours. But we're getting further and further away from what we need to do. We need to say that AI is taking over jobs. There will still be jobs for human development, which Amos and Abby will talk about. And
there won't. Lysinka, have you watched the videos that I sent you showing how AI will displace basically friendship? It will displace therapists, it will displace teachers, it will displace because every human will have access to all the knowledge of humanity at their fingertips. If you go
but
and visit,
it will not displace human development from the inside out. And that
no,
is
not
what
from the inside out. Uh,
and maybe and Amos are going to be talking about. And that is what we're talking about in Koisto's work as well. It's a human development from the inside out. And that is what we're dealing with.
but it's going to definitely have huge impact on that because of the fact that
It will, it will,
yeah,
it will, but it
it
will
will
not
become your companion to talk about your innermost feelings and aspirations and things like that. You are going
That's
to
right,
know.
Bill. You're talking about actions. But when we're talking about human development from the inside out, we're talking about intuition, we're talking about untangible things. And the right brain is the guiding force. It's the leader in this process. The left brain, which you're talking about, is the implementer. The guiding force is the right brain. And so we're talking about right brain development here. The left brain, aye, that's fine. That takes over the thinking and action. That's AI. But the feeling and sensing and development from the inside out, that is the human element that's going to remain. And that needs to be dealt with. And that will be dealt with.
I'm perfectly happy with that. I do not think that's where Amos is coming from. I think he's very much on the left brain side. But
I think he is too. Yes, he is. He is.
yeah,
But I think that he's also talking about individual development. He takes people who want to do something and then he gives them the skills by working with the UN and classes and things like that. But they determine the direction they want to take in their own job.
right. But the thing about it is once you say, "Oh, I'm visiting Greece. I don't know how to speak Greece." Oh, okay. Give me 2 minutes, and now I speak Greek. That's what AI is going to do. So what's
Yeah,
going to teach you? What
I,
is a teacher
I,
going to teach?
that's right. But that's why we're talking about something different. We're talking about AI taking over jobs, some other aspect being left. And the other aspect that's being left is that people will want to be creative. People will want to
No,
develop.
I agree. That's the point I'm
That
making.
is
I'm
the
just
part
saying
that's
here
going to be
that
taken, that's going to be taken
right,
care
but
of.
nobody's going to have a job to help anybody develop skills because AI will help you develop any skill you
Right,
want.
right. But the
Okay.
human being will have to be in a leadership position to develop themselves.
Right. And that point we're in agreement. But as I said, we have to be very careful because if Amos is bringing out the examples of, I can show you how to use AI, or I can show you how to have any skill that you're thinking about, that is one of the first things that are going to become obsolete. I would say within the next 12 to 18 months, that is going to go by the wayside because you're going to have all that access it's fine to say, yeah, we want to give people the freedom, and one of the first freedoms is the freedom from fear and hunger and so forth. We're going to give them those freedoms so that they can focus on the things that give them true satisfaction and enable them to grow to be whatever they want to be. That I'm fine with that piece, but that piece is not going to require schools and teachers and the like. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, yeah. But now the only thing we really need to do is to get this blurb done.
Yeah, yeah. So,
And so
so the
what we're
thing,
basically saying in the blurb is that there are highly developed countries like Estonia. AI is now changing even that to make something completely unrecognizable, whereas a large part of human endeavor is going to be taken over by AI, but the creative aspects of the human development, people developing themselves, is going to remain. And there are different sort of ways in which that is done. Let's say Amos and Abby will let's say that that's what they're going to do. And also we have a new economy whereby people are going to focus on their own development. And that is then the SIFA economy, where we find a basic income through the way in which the SIFA economy works, and people develop themselves. So that's
but
the
the
narrative.
key thing here is that we have to be very careful that we don't confuse the development, the kind of personal development with a economic development, because that's the piece that's going to fall by the wayside because
No, no, no. I think you're right that the type of the sort of economic development that's going to fall by the wayside is the stuff in which we're going to feed ourselves and going to educate ourselves, etc. But the type of personal development that is not going to fall by the wayside is the way in which each individual decides their own
no,
life.
we agree. We agree that what I was referring to is that when we talk about the SIFA economy is not the thing that's related to the personal development. Personal development is something, like you said, comes
No,
from
no, I
inside.
think it is. I think it is because there's creativity, and the individual wants to develop their own creativity, but they will do that with other people. And that's going to open up forms of, and it doesn't matter if AI does it, but people will want to do that. People will want to develop themselves in jointly with other people. And that's going to develop the human community in the way in which the humans themselves want to be developed. And then AI can help them with that. But that satisfaction that comes from developing alone and together with others, that is the thing that's going to remain, that
Right,
people are
but
going.
that doesn't have an economic aspect. That's all I was saying.
No, no, but they can do that because we have the basic income and
Exactly. The SIFA plan is freeing them up to pursue those personal interests and growth aspects.
yes, yes. Okay. So then what we need to say is to get in the blurb to the fact that ordinary jobs are being taken over by AI, and it'll be much better. So that gets us to the word workforce. So displacement of all of human beings to the workforce. And now we say, but but human desires to create individually and together will remain.
I think that has to come out as a separate because that's a separate issue. I think
Yeah,
the
that comes.
idea of AI replacing the jobs is not that you lost a job. That's going to be an impact because a lot of people define themselves based on their job, and that's their who they think they are. But the biggest thing is that they're losing not their what they do, but they're losing their income, which is the means of survival. That's the primary piece we need to bring out here that, hey, that the development, the financing for development has been focused on providing people with incomes as the way to deal with poverty, et cetera. And that the opportunity to do that through work is going away. So we have to find an alternative way of providing income so that people can survive. And
Right. So then, yes, yes, quite, quite. But at the same time, what remains is the human being
And
who wants.
that's what I think we need to put in a separate paragraph. So when we,
So this will result in displacement of almost all humans in the workplace. What remains? What remains? I'll just write it down. You can. What remains is the innate human desire to evolve and create. Um, at the same time people will uh, need money or currency.
no, they don't need money or currency. And I think Koister even said they need the goods and services that right now money enables them to get to. But that's one of the reasons why he didn't have the individuals paying the providers. He had the once it was approved that that provider is going to do it, it was the UN bank that paid the providers, so that the person who said I want this, they used
I,
up some
I, I,
credit.
I that might be so, Bill. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Um, in all the years
I'll
that
send
I've
you
been
I'll
working with.
send you the quotes out of the book
Okay,
because
but,
that surprised me too that
don't let's go down that
yeah.
road. So what remains is the innate human desire to evolve and create. At the same time, people will need what? An income?
Let me just finish this. Is once we solve the issues of survival and safety, the loss of occupations uh, will weigh heavily on people, on humans who have an innate um, desire to
Evolve
be.
and create. I just wrote it.
Oh, where? Oh, I'm sorry because I'm sharing that other screen.
So I'm on the Google Doc. So
Okay, but
just
that
turn
has
to
to come be that has to uh
just go to the Google Doc. Then
yeah,
you can.
I'm in a Google Doc and let me just stop the other share and I'll come back to this share.
So I'm working on the Google Doc, and you have that too. And yeah,
Okay, so but this has to go below this paragraph. Okay, so let's take this and it needs
no,
to
I
go.
no, no, I don't agree with that next
No,
paragraph.
because the paragraph above that is focused on income. That the whole purpose of the paragraph above that is income and universal basic income. So even after we resolve that, what remains is the innate human desire to evolve and create, right?
What will be needed is an income, but that I don't want to go into oh, people say this or most people say that. That's totally not what we want to do. We don't want to go down that. That's not it's not convincing.
Well, wait a minute. That's the
And
sustain.
because an increasing number of voices in your circle say that, doesn't mean to say that they're saying it in my circle. That's not a, that's not a,
Oh, but
it,
that's the
it,
crux of the issue. What's the income replacement? That's the question. What's
yeah,
the
okay, then let's say that. Let's say so income from labor. So we need an income replacement.
Yeah, that's okay. That's
Right.
what
So
the
then
paragraph above that starts off.
need
If
an
you if
in,
humans Yeah, but we
yeah.
already say that the sentence right in front of that says if humans no longer have income for labor, we need a new economic model to address poverty, hunger, and equality. Okay, so we need an
Oh, wait a minute. No, we need a new economic model to promote human exchanges.
no, we don't. I'll tell you here, most of the people you talk about, the people I know, an awful lot of it, they hate to have to interact with humans. They love the idea if they can just sit in their room and do.
Yeah, but just a minute, we don't need money to address poverty, hunger, and equality. We can do it in a different way. We don't need money for that. We can just decide to go out and undertake a common project. So we don't need money to address poverty, hunger, and equality.
You do because if people are saying, "Hey, I can go out and do a job and I can make money," but if I can't go out and do a job to make money, then I need to have an alternative to be able to have an income.
Okay, but it doesn't mean
You're saying well, you can, yes, you can live if you are willing to live on the human values of caring and working with others and being cooperative.
we
You have a
don't need
right to live.
money to address poverty. But we need a new economic model in which people can exchange things.
Why?
And currency is a way, is a point system to do that.
Wait a minute, but that's going back to say, still okay. If I go out there and I'm in that economy and I've got because I've got money, I went and I got 20 robots, and then I'll undercut every single other human that suggests any need. I'll undercut anybody else's proposal of how I'm going to satisfy that need. And you're saying here that people should buy from the other person just because I want to share with them. I want to
No, no,
be
no,
a
I'm not
good neighbor.
saying that at all. No, I'm not. I'm not making any big point about that.
Yeah. So I think here, when we look at the masses of the population, we look at 8 billion people, 9 billion almost. We look at those people, there's going to have to be something more than, hey, go ahead, you can share. You can go and live like the chimpanzees and the
No,
animals.
Bill, I'm not hung up on that point. Not at
So,
all.
so I think here the
We
the
need to get
idea
from
is,
this is
hey,
well, from all humans in the workforce. We need to get to the oh goodness, we're getting so convoluted and it's getting
yeah,
more and more complex
but
and more.
no, it's simple. I think here we say, look, okay, guess what? You just lost the ability to have income from labor, but we know you need income to be able to acquire the means of survival. So the goal is here, we need to provide an alternate means of income that's not based on human labor.
Okay, let's
So
put that.
that includes human labor includes you're doing something jointly with a neighbor or your community or whatever. That's human labor. So we need the means. We need to have a mechanism for people to have an income. I'm very surprised by what you said that you're not hearing people talking about universal basic income because I don't care where you go in the world today. You look almost every country that from
Bill,
Korea
Bill,
to
Bill, we don't need to go there. Whether I've heard about it or not, and
no,
whether people are
I'm,
talking
I'm
about
just
it,
saying here
doesn't
that if
relevant.
you look at the experiments and how broadly they are across the world of places around the world that are trying out the concepts along the lines of a universal basic income. I'm not hearing anybody who's come up with something that says when human work no longer has value, then I'm not hearing anybody with a proposal other than a universal basic income.
So we have a sentence here, what remains is the innate human desire to evolve and create. And then
But the whole concept, supplementary basic income, it says it all. It's the idea that we are going to provide people a way to share. Take Norway and Alaska, because that's just one model of how. But the idea here is that there are certain resources and certain production abilities due to robots or whatever, and the benefits of all that need to be somehow distributed among the population of the world. And the sustainable, the supplementary income is basically saying, hey, we need to share. It took a model, for example, it reversed the model of central banks, which said, yes, when we grow and there's growth out there, we're going to distribute the benefits of the growth through the people that are already the haves, the bankers and what have you, to say, we're going to share the benefits of the growth with everybody by going and feeding that into all the general population. Somebody who did nothing but sat on a riverbank enjoying the sun, hey, they get their share of the benefits of the global economy, just like somebody there who's planting crops because they like a particular kind of corn that nobody else makes or whatever.
let's stay with the text and see how we can move
Okay.
there. So
We
this
can
will
change it instead of a universal basic income. We can say we need
a currency.
no, we don't need a currency. What we need is we need a system that will enable a fair sharing of the world's resources and production. That's really what this is about. The fact that you're saying here, well, we also have to have satisfy people's desire to do things, but that's totally different from saying, well, hey, we got to replace their income because the current model or the model until now of income is going to no longer be applicable. That's what we've been building up to this point. That hey, guess what, guys? The model of providing income as a means of addressing all the lowest levels of the Maslowian hierarchy, uh, that's going away. So we need a new way to address those bottom levels of the Maslowian hierarchy. Then we can talk about, once we've taken care of those bottom levels, there's also the human desire to do higher order things from the Maslowian hierarchy. Yeah. And give me okay. Yeah.
We need a new way to enable human exchanges.
No, what's that got to do with income? We just said here we're taking away the income.
Yeah, but we need a new way to enable human exchanges.
Why? What about all the people in the world that don't want to exchange anything with other humans?
Well, everybody does.
No, they
Everybody in
don't. No, they don't. I personally know many people that want to sit in a closet in their house and
But
play.
what do we need? We need a new way for what?
We
We
need a
need,
new way to provide people with the income or the means. You don't even have to call it income. We need a new way to provide people with the means to acquire the necessities of life, which are almost 100% going to be fulfilled by AI and robots. Once we get beyond the necessities of life, listen, those necessities of life are the bottom two levels of the Maslowian hierarchy. Those are the necessities of life. The above that, once these are taken care of, people who have been working 20 hours a day just to get enough food to survive will now have the time and the thinking to be able to start looking at those higher levels. When we went from being an agricultural society where people,
Bill, I don't agree with you there. Being a psychologist, when people are stunted in their ability to follow their passion, then something very serious happens. And it might not be that they die, but they're mentally, they die.
no, but let's go and take a look. What happened when mechanization?
Let's stay with the text because we have to prepare the
Right,
text.
right. But the
We
problem
need a
is
new way to provide people with the means to acquire the necessities of life.
right, okay. Yeah.
And where do we go from there?
Uh, I would say after the word means in parentheses, I'd put the word income. With they need the means, they need the income to acquire the necessities of life.
Means all income?
No, no, no. Means in parentheses, income. Income is the means. Okay, and then I think we can add below this paragraph because this is eliminating that whole next paragraph. So the thing we can do is after this paragraph, you can bring in that point once we've addressed the necessities of life, and you can put in parentheses the bottom layers of the Maslowian hierarchy. Then there remains that point that you're bringing up about personal development.
No, I think that is all it's all part of the same thing. We're
Oh,
making that distinction because we know the Maslowian pyramid, but whether people get their capacity to eat and drink or their capacity to develop mentally, that's all part of the same thing. And
when
and
when
and
people were working 20 hours on the farms to produce the food, when 80%, and which you still have in places in Africa, where 80% of the people have to just work it all day to try to survive on food, they have had zero capacity to address things like education and healthcare and infrastructure,
let's stay with
or
the text. Let's stay with the
yeah,
text. So
but
what?
the problem is you're saying things that just aren't true because
Okay.
people
All
who
right, and
don't
what
have
do we
time,
say
they
here?
can't
Because
read.
what we need to do now, whether I speak the truth or not, is we need to get from here to um, we've we have to we're covering this. Estonia, we're covering Bill with AI, we're covering Amos and Abby and Dose, and we're covering the Yvonne and me with the income, and then we have Joan with a pilot.
Mhm. But
So that's
this is
that is what
creating a
we're
teaser.
describing here.
Yeah, but this is creating a teaser to say this is the gist of what we're talking about, not the question of who's talking and who's saying what.
No,
We're
but we have to, this has to be the gist that is the teaser for all of those people.
right, but the teaser, okay, but the teaser we said early on, the teaser should be about financing for development, the development that they're talking about, that we're saying here. My basic part is saying that hey, what we've been pursuing is no longer a viable future. That people are not going to have incomes and we have to find a new way of providing incomes. That's the gist, and say that in the same regard, education will not be a viable answer because everybody will have all the education, all the knowledge just in
No, no,
time.
Bill, that's not true. There's an innate desire by people to develop and to grow. So
Yes,
education is
wait a minute.
going to
I'm not taking
remain.
anything away from that. I'm not taking anything away from that. But
Let's stay with the text. Let's stay with the
yeah.
text. So, okay, so we've got this. We've been talking for 2 hours now, or three
Yeah.
hours about
And
one
I've
paragraph.
got to leave shortly.
Yeah,
So
I have to
start.
get going too. I'm leaving very early, and I need to get everything done. I need to get all my everything in order. So I'm traveling, and I would be busy doing that if I weren't here.
Okay,
So
so the paragraph you want to add in a paragraph, once the necessities of life have been addressed, then we must remember that people have the innate desire to grow and create.
The AI will result in the displacement of almost all humans in the workforce,
No, yeah, but it'll displace
leaving,
the income.
leaving.
It will displace the incomes.
No, it says here this will result in the displacement of almost all human beings in their workforce, which is also
Meaning loss of income.
what remains is the human desire
Oh,
to
what remains is the fact that you don't have any way to have something to eat tomorrow.
well, income isn't necessarily it's income is a means to do that. Other means exist as well. There's barter, there's exchange of work, there's all sorts of things.
But that you're going to have all those people who own robots and AIs
Bill,
and so
Bill,
forth.
Bill, Bill, we need
Yeah, but
to
I'm so totally against the idea of barter and humans working with humans and exchanges. I
yeah,
cannot
but
get that
nevertheless,
up.
that happens, whether you want it or not. We don't have to say we're recommending it or not.
Yeah,
But I'm just saying that that is an alternative, which
it's an alternative. So, but the bottom line is we need a means of income. We can call it what we want, but the means to acquire the necessities of life. Okay, and so that's a form of income. Whether I traded you 2 chickens for 2 bushels of corn, is that's
okay, so let's say that we've got that sentence there already. We need a new to provide people with a means of income to acquire this necessities of life.
and the very name sustain.
What we need to discuss is human development here. We've got the part of the robots which are doing
We
sort
have
of
to have the ability to offer people have to have the ability or the option to pursue personal development, but they may not want to. They may not care.
everybody develops.
But
Whether you like
they
it or not, that is something which is
right.
automatically included in the human being. Also, the mental and the emotional is also part of that development.
How do you explain all the
They
people who retire and just want to go and spend the rest of their life sitting
they
on the
are
beach
still
fishing?
they it doesn't make any difference. They don't have to be working mentally. They don't want to have to be passionately in love with somebody, but then they will still be enjoying the waves and the beach
Yeah,
and the relaxation.
right.
All that is part of it. Okay?
How we explain that is going to be tough to explain. Hey, people need the we need people need the option of or the
By
opportunity of
the
person.
necessity of life,
So
we
we need
have to get, we have the point, the job that we have in this is not to start fantasizing about what people may or may not need. It's we have to show how the talk by Bill on AI
yeah,
moves across the talk by Amos, by Abby, and then comes
yeah.
to the talk
Be,
by
be,
Lethinka,
be,
and then by
yeah,
Joan.
okay. Be careful. My talk is not so much about AI as the consequences of AI,
Yes.
the
All
development
right, it's about
consequences.
the consequences of AI.
Yeah.
And then we have people who are talking about human development, the individual human development, and that's the next part of the workshop. And then the final part of the workshop has to do with the system that enables the human development and provides the income for it. And after that, we have a pilot project, which is a step towards that. That's what we have to convey here.
Okay. I suggest the following because we're running out of time. Uh, work on because I've got to go and you've got limited time here. We just need to come up with a way. I see right now, I don't see how we do the jump from that we started off when I started off, I started saying, hey, you guys are interested in this. You're looking at how you combat hunger and poverty through jobs. I'm now bringing in that jobs will no longer be a
Right,
path
so
to overcoming.
Let's just do it. We can need a new way to provide people with the means of income to acquire the income of life. Then we have speakers. The ambassador.
Well, I think here we want to bring us these last two paragraphs.
Estonia,
Here.
a highly technologically highly developed nation. Then we have, is it Bill Graham or William?
I go by Bill.
Bill Graham.
Yeah, and that
What do you want to talk about? It's AI taking over.
no. The um okay, the first thing you did is you put down people's what their position. You can put down next to my name a charter board member of the Rotary Artificial Intelligence Fellowship.
Charter
Board
and
member
board member of the
Rotary Artificial Intelligence Fellowship.
Artificial Intelligence Fellowship.
Okay.
Anything else?
Uh,
What will you talk about?
yeah. Talking about how AI and the displacement of human workers.
Wait a minute. How AI and the
displacement of human workers
of human workers
requires a redefinition.
Requires a redefinition. Yeah.
Of let me think for a minute, because I want to keep it short.
Shining Star International. Education. I'm filling in the rest now.
No problem. Okay. I think I'm going to have to leave here shortly. You can continue. You're editing in.
I'm just putting the other people. I really don't have any time to do it now, Bill.
Okay.
Can
So
you and Joan, you're going to
yeah.
fill it out anyway with Joan, And I'm going to give you the address. It just needs to go into an email to this particular address.
Okay, could you put that in the in our
I'll put it
um
right at the top.
well or okay, you can put it here. Yeah, okay. That's fine. And but also copy it if you would into our SIFA leadership group in the WhatsApp for that leadership group.
The address.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay. And any advice you want to give along the way on that too.
Yeah,
Okay.
if I think of something, I'll come and put it in there.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop sharing this because you've got it open anyway in on your machine. So you're
Yeah,
editing
just
directly.
switch it off to make sure I still got it.
Okay, hold on. That's I'm off, but you should be fine.
Okay. Yes, I'm still fine.
Okay.
So Bill, I won't see you. I'm going to be traveling,
Yep.
and there's going to be some big family complications, etc., for the next week or so, 10 days. So if we can just get this in,
Yeah.
uh, then that would be fine. And if you and Joan want to just put the dots on the I, that would be fine.
Mhm. I'll do that. I'll try to represent the position that you were describing there with we've got to get in we can talk about the income needs, but we've got to get in the point of the growth and development. We have that one line. We may want to just maybe add a sentence or might if you've got a minute, just add an additional sentence to that because we sort of left that hanging just before your list of speakers. That
Y-
maybe
Yes.
expanding that one line, and we'll do our best to represent what you're describing there. I'm also though going to send stuff to you. Hopefully, you'll get a chance to read it occasionally on the evolution here because I really need you to see some of the things that are happening because I'm one of the biggest fears I have is that we're going to go back to a society where people just live in grass huts, no electricity, and they're just happy and laughing because they're growing their own food, they're trading with their neighbors, they're working together, and that is one kind of society that I know many people that love that. And I think I related to you that the head of a major African American group here
Yeah.
pushing for equality. They blame the ills of the world on the discovery of electricity, which enabled people to live outside of the clock of the sun going up and the sun going down, because now they were able to have light and doing things. But one of my biggest fears is that our world is going to split into two groups here, and the one group's going to end up looking at the other group as no longer being humans or being some sort of subhumans like chimpanzees. That's one of my biggest fears. So you've got people like the Ray Kurzweil that can't wait until he can replace his biological body with a machine body, and just get rid of all the biological weaknesses that humans have. And that's sort of one extreme that I sure hope we don't end up at. But you've got also the Craig Ventners who are working very strongly to reverse the aging process, and they're very close. I don't know if you saw the demonstration of the mouse that they're trying to resurrect right now, the woolly mammoths.
Yeah,
Uh,
I heard that they're very sort of close to reversing the aging process.
Exactly. So they're right now, they're projecting 2029, they will be able to start reversing the aging process in humans, and you'll be immortal in your 20s. At the age equivalent of your 20s, you'll be immortal forever, unless you get into an accident. So
You grow and develop.
well, I guess you can. I don't know what you're going to do after the first 1,000 years. But the issue is on that growth and development. You really have to look. If you see some of the ads that Amazon has been putting out about Alexa, where Alexa will be your best friend, confidant, tutor, coach, you name it, be your best friend, that you will because it's there that we are very close now, very, very close to having at least the cap or a band that will have your brain, you'll be communicating without having to speak anymore, directly with AI. And so your thoughts, you literally will just be exchanging your thoughts with AI, and have knowledge to everything anybody has ever known. If you recall that movie Total Recall, where he went in and took a 2-week vacation on his lunch break by just implanting the memory of a vacation that he never took. That believe it or not, we are getting close. There's an experiment that I read about that was done between somebody in India and somebody in Scotland, where they were able to take a person in India was looking at something. They were able to decode it, and send a stream of digital and things to Scotland, and they were able to upload into the person's brain in Scotland so that he could see what the person in India was seeing. And so that ability, that's why I say, yo, you want to learn French? Okay, it's going to take a 10-second injection, and you'll just inject the entire knowledge of the French language into your brain. Or probably what's more likely to happen is, as with the whole idea of AI being the sum of all knowledge of humanity, we're really outsourcing our brain, because the ability to cull through all that information and come to conclusions, that's what ChatGPT and these other things are doing. And so more and more, we're going to be asking the outsourced part of our brain to process everything and give us the results. And the just like we see with self-driving cars, we started off very simple. A car could come, if something was in front of it, it would stop, and it would either back up or it would go to the right or go to the left. And that was the sum of its abilities. Today, it can handle tens of thousands of scenarios that have happened, because they just have the AI watching the driver and taking in all the information from all the sensors around it. And it sees when a driver does something that had a bad result, it says, oh, that's not something to do. And if it sees a good result, it says, oh, that's what I should be doing. That's how it learns. And last year, Google built a robot. It's just an arm. It's not the whole body. It's just an arm. But it just watches what's going around it, happening around it. And it learns from anything it sees, and it can then do whatever the human around it was doing, to the degree you can do it with one arm. And the newest one is on the AI self-developing. It's a company called Scientist.ai. It's in Japan, that just got its first peer-reviewed academic paper published. And it creates hypotheses and all kinds of things like this. But NVIDIA, the chip maker, is working with them. And what they are doing is they are having AI generate tens of millions and hundreds of millions of scenarios for all the things that could possibly happen that maybe have not been documented or captured anywhere. And they're having the AI basically watch YouTube videos, or watching these things and learning everything about anything. So, we are very close to AI is going to be developing itself. The humans are not going to be developing AI anymore, so we're not in control anymore. That is within months. We're within months. And so this is why I say so many of the things when I talk to people, they look at the world they know today, they see today out there, and they infer out of that what they see, what's likely to come. And it's so important to see what is actually happening on that leading edge, so that you can project out and infer from there, where are we likely to be? Like we say, you don't want to run to where the ball is, you want to run to where the ball is going to be. And
Yeah.
we're like a weather reporter. The weather reporter is looking at the storms that are starting to be generated and trying to figure out where's it going to go, how strong is it going to be, and so forth and so on. We have to be like that. We have to be looking at these developments and trying to anticipate, where's it going? How severe is it going to be? What's the impact going to be? And there's multiple possible. It could go this way or it could go that way. And we have to sort of figure out what are the odds or what's going to be the trigger that's going to tell us which way it's more likely to be going. Because if we don't do that, because this is moving so fast, I'm writing a little agent, an AI agent now to tell me, because every day, all the major players are releasing new capabilities every day. It's, it was a month ago, every month, just a couple of months ago. And now we're seeing every single day. You can develop the mind maps on Notebook LM. You can just in the regular Google say, create me a podcast from this, whatever, this paper or this, hey, I got this idea. Make me a podcast. And literally in 5 minutes, you might have a 30-minute podcast about just some idea that you spoke into your computer, and now it went and gathered all the other information around that and makes you a podcast on it. So this is why when I look at what Amos is doing, and Amos is saying, I'm going to teach people how to use machine learning, how to help the machine learn how to do something. Before he can teach somebody enough how to do that, the world has changed. There's no longer any demand to do that because it does it itself. And for so many of these jobs that he's looking to train people for, yeah, we might need them, but it's going to be like that star basketball player. You've got a 0.0000001% chance that you're going to be that person, because we don't need a lot of people designing these models. There's probably less than a couple of thousand people that are training the foundation models that billions of people around the world are living with. So, what's your odds that you're going to be one of those couple of thousand people? So I look and I see, and I have a big group I advise in Pakistan that are building schools in all the major cities of Pakistan to train people how to use AI. And I'm saying, within probably 6 months, you're going to just speak to this thing about anything you want, and it will figure out what apps to go to, and it will walk you through the entire process of using those apps to do whatever it is that you're wanting to do. You're not going to need to know how to press any buttons. You're not going to need to know how to do anything. If it's got doubts about something, it will ask you. It will just talk to you and about everything. We need to go and say, if that happens, how does that change the world if every 10-year-old I see here, I think the UK is one of the countries that's talking about banning cell phones in school. But then when they got into the discussion with the students in high school, they found out that a significant number of the students were using it for research, the equivalent of going into the library. And so they're sitting there and saying, wait a minute, you're stopping my education. You're slowing my education down because somebody else is abusing that to take pictures under the bathroom stalls. We need to really understand what's happening, where these technologies are, because people can't imagine that. They can't imagine that I can just talk to this. They can't imagine I'm going for a jog in the park late at night, that it's going to warn me that there's a shady character in the shadows up above, up ahead, and whatever it is that in life. And we really have to be able to picture those worlds. And it's going to be very true that some people are going to get there first, earlier, and some people a lot later. But who was it? Was it Deng Xiaoping in China that came out and said that because of the whole equality and capitalism, and he said, okay, but it's okay for some people to get there earlier, faster, right? And so that's why they allowed capitalism into China. But it's okay to say, no, I don't want to go down that path. I don't need that. That's okay. But it's not okay to not know what's happening and what the options are, because then
Yeah.
you get clobbered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's why I'm going to send you. There's a couple of other things. Did you ever look at that sesame.com. I think I suggested you take a look at that.
Bill, I'm sorry, I've been so overworked in these last few days
Yeah.
with my sister and
Yeah.
and the preparations. I really do try and look at the things you give me because I find them really interesting. You've really opened up such horizons for me, and you continue to do that. So I'm really grateful about that. It's just that every day I'm working from early to late, just like you.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount I can fit into that, and there's a certain order in which I need to do it. But of
Yeah.
urgency.
Yeah. And especially as I'm watching here, all the experts that I follow about a dozen people who really delve in every day, and they're all complaining the same thing, that they're saying they no longer can keep up with the changes. And
Yeah.
these are people who that's their profession. They make money. They get paid to be tracking what's happening out there. But there's so much competition. There's at least four major players in China that are as big as ChatGPT and Google and this now. In the robotic area here, you cannot imagine what the humanoid robots are capable of today. The finger dexterity down to 2 millimeter accuracy, the able to do cartwheels and side things and run parkour courses, and the within a year we're going to see you're going to see humanoid robots that will outperform humans in almost every imaginable physical task. And not only the physical tasks, you have to watch the video here of robots who never saw. They got something put in front of them. They were told to do something that they had never seen before. And they had to learn to put stuff away in different compartments and cabinets, but nobody told them what goes where. And they figured out what would go where, but they also realized that the robot next to them was closer to the place something needed to be put away. And they just literally handed off to the other robot, and the other robot put it away. In other words, the collaboration and cooperation among them. And
Wow.
when we think 6 months ago, we couldn't even have imagined anything like that, or the ability of the robot that had a human walk up to it and say, hey, give me something to eat. And the robot reached down, picked up an apple and handed it to him. And the guy says, why did you do that? It's because you asked for something to eat, and that's the only thing that's edible on the table. And it's talking just like that in real
Yeah.
time. Or the Kung Fu dance robot dancing, two humans and a robot dancing at wild, crazy, high speed. And everybody was speculating here, oh, somebody sped up the video and all that. Nope. Turns out that robot is capable of keeping up with the most wild human movements, choreographed to dance, that just by watching the humans next to it, and without any speeding up here. So you have to project, where are we if within a year and a half, 2 years, we have robots that are walking the street where you can't tell who's a biological human and who's a humanoid robot. We're heading to that. Some
Yeah.
in China, there are humanoid robots right now that as long as they're not moving and speaking, you cannot say whether that's a human or it's not. They've the they're able to do the micro muscles and the facial expressions and twitching of the eyes and you name it. Um, so identical, and the touch. And now they've given robots the capability to smell, to touch, and feel. Anyway, yes, I'm coming. Okay, okay. So let
Oh,
me
so I will put I'll put the link at the top, and I'll
yes.
put it in the chat
Yes, and see if you can take that one sentence just before the speaker list, and in that one sentence, you might be able to just expand that a little, because I sort of feel right now it sort of it leaves people hanging because we don't explain what that means.
Okay.
Okay.
Press
Okay.
sentence. Yeah.
Good. So I'm going to
Well,
sign off then.
yeah,
Have
love and thank you so much for
okay. Have
everything. It's
safe travels. Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye now.